Call the Budget Committee meeting to order. We do have a set of minutes. Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any questions concerning the minutes? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, there's one thing that I would like to do before we get started. Down toward the bottom of the agenda is AFT discussion. We're going to do that last.
Okay.
Just to let everybody know.
I'll keep them here.
Okay, financial report.
Everything looks good. I always point out a few good things and otherwise. So your revenues exceed expenditures right now by 2.1 million. That's down from the prior year, but it should be because of the pay plan. Last year, your revenues this time exceeded expenditures by 5.3 million. So that's to be anticipated. If y'all remember, we finished last year with a $7 million surplus. We planned on using a big chunk of that to fund the pay plan. So this is exactly what we anticipated. Your local option sales tax and special purpose tax fund are up year over year, $962,000. So sales tax continues to be strong. Ag Center income exceeds expenses. It's up. Revenues over expenses $336,000. So it's doing better than it was last year. Your adequate facilities tax in 151 is down $2,087,000, and 189 is down $1,043,000. So you're down 3.1 million in total year over year in AFT. That equates to about 626 units, I believe. So that concludes my report unless you have any specific questions for me.
I have a statement. I think it's a good time probably to recognize that Wilson County had a clean audit this year. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and your team.
Thank you.
Yeah. It is a good thing.
Motion to approve report.
Motion.
Second.
Yeah, motion and second to approve. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay, amendments.
Budget amendments. First one is for the Ag Center. This is coming out of their fund balance. They're taking $244,300 for the audio visual for the Made in Tennessee building.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or concerns? Yes, sir.
I know it's coming out of the Ag Center Fund, but it is the Made in Tennessee building. Did the state not give us enough to do this stuff that we need to do with it?
My understanding is all the money has been committed to this project and others, and there's no remaining money to be committed to take care of the audio visual, is my understanding.
So we're kind of stuck with buying, we bought chairs and tables, plus the auto, so it's gonna cost another $1 million or so to outfit this building that the state said they're gonna fund.
I don't have a total figure on me, but that sounds reasonable.
I'll give it to you in simple form. They spent for the building itself is $7.1 million.
Well, I know it costs about $7 million.
And so you're putting the tables and the chairs and the audio visual that you're renting out 11 months out of 12.
So we're gonna recover that?
Yeah,
you
so,
said?
I mean, it is your building.
Well, I understand it's our
So
building.
Yeah, so so your investment is very small.
Our investment so far, Mr. John, including this, will be about 325.
$325,000? Okay. I'm just concerned the state wants to do this, do the state fair, and then they want us.
Well, it wasn't really, the state sent X number of dollars, and
Oh, I know, I
you
understand.
know as well as anybody, and the money just don't go
They
far
sent a lot of
enough.
money to do this. Okay, I understand. What's that make our Ag Center Fund after this?
Well, you just, hold on just a minute. Year to date, now things could change. I mean, you're asking me to measure fund balance in the middle of the year, and that doesn't happen, okay? But we're right now, We're still pretty good, yeah, because we're 820,000 revenues over expenditures year to date this year before you do this. And then you had another,
Right at 2 million, wasn't it?
yeah,
But your fund balance, what he's asking for is 2 million.
yeah, but this closes into fund balance. Is the reason I'm giving him the excess of revenues over expenditures. I'm just saying that's not a final number. You could lose money the next
Right.
5 months.
Now, do the rentals go into this fund balance as well, or just the?
Everything goes into fund balance. The way I described it the other night, it just, the numbers all get together on New Year's Eve, commingle, and they don't, but when they wake up, they're not in the same place where they were when they went to bed. They've all gone to retained earnings. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other questions? All in favor say aye. Any opposed?
Alrighty then.
Capital projects, 18,000 from capital projects for building improvements for paving and drainage engineering over here at the Election Commission building.
Motion approved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor say aye. Any opposed?
Next one is also from capital projects, but it's also a general fund. This is a combined entry. 300,000 from the opioid settlement funds, and 550,000 from capital projects going to design the multi-level court building.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions? All in favor say aye. Anyone opposed?
All right, don't ask me too many questions on this one because I don't know how well I can explain it, but 74,733 is for a sewer sleeve to run in front of one of the new WEMA stations, supposedly,
You can explain it.
yeah.
So to answer that, when they do widen Central Pike in front of the new stations, Wema Station there, we're gonna go ahead and run the sleeve all the way down through the front of our property so that when the sewer does come down through there, they don't stop our service and they don't tear up our road or our front yard, or the blasting that could, when they go to do that, could tear up your water line stuff. Yes, they would have to fix it, of course, but it's still, that's just something you gotta go back to. So we're running the sleeve down through there to keep that from happening. That was voted on in Public Works.
Motion approved.
Have a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, have a motion and a second. Any questions or concerns? All in favor say aye. Any opposed?
Next one is 7,000 for signage on the Veterans Museum over here.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Is there any questions?
What? Mr. Chairman, I
Yes,
ask a
sir.
question? What type of signage are you talking about, a neon, electric?
No, it's metal, and I have a picture of it.
I can say I didn't bring a picture.
There he goes in his little stack of stuff.
Signage is pretty,
It is, the reason they wanted to do it was that when you drive down through there, you don't realize that's a museum. And so across that arch over the top will be large
Okay.
metal letters, and I'll find it here, I'll show it to you.
You go on to the next one.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The next one is 175,000, which I believe is half the cost of the Corps of Engineers flood study that Carl McFarland has mentioned 2 or 3 times.
May I address that, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Planning and zoning, passed this out, we've had, here's copies of the proposal stuff. We've had a couple of workshops with, Corps of Engineers. The long-term plan we have is to do 5 studies on the 5 major tributaries, that go into the Cumberland River and North Coles River. First would be, Spencer Creek. Spencer Creek is, the study will show everything from now to full build out. We're paying half, the Corps of Engineers are paying for half. It'll take 9 months to a year to finish it up, in light of the fact that we're gonna spend
$68 million down there on schools. We need to make sure we don't flood our schools or flood other people and become liable. Last, it came out of the planning and zoning unanimous to approve it, to bring for you guys, ask for your approval. Question.
Is there a motion?
Motion approved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Let's see, the next one's county clerk's office. They're requesting money from fund balance. Actually, that should say 60 on the decrease side, not 40. They're requesting money for postage, additional fees for titling and registration, office supplies, and other contracted services. And that's all I really have on that one.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, have a motion and a second to approve. Is there any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
The next one from the ARP fund, you guys have already voted on this, but I noticed when we were filling out our quarterly expenditure report of ARP funds, that when we went from 22 to 23 fiscal year, we didn't roll the remaining balance that's due to be spent on the communication system. So basically, this is basically putting back in the budget what you've already approved to spend, but since I've got to put it in the budget, I need your approval.
So moved.
Question. Communications, can anybody give an update on that? Joey, I know that, have you heard, is there anything, where are we looking at on that? I know what we've been working on. for a
They're
while.
still installing equipment. I know that all the dishes had come in that was required, and they're installing them right now. They're still putting part of the radios that were for cars and for the offices. They're installing them right now.
Thank you.
I just know they're
Appreciate
still
it.
working on it.
Thanks.
Okay, we had a motion. Who seconded that?
Nobody yet.
I thought it was one of these.
I did.
Okay.
Mayor.
Okay, sorry. Any other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Next one is for the health department. The big part, I'll just explain this real quick. Down at the bottom, the 55,390, 599, we're basically just moving the money from one object code to another. It's sitting in 55,390, 140, which is a salary supplement line, which doesn't make any sense to us. So we decided to move it into 599, which is other charges. The other stuff you see here is 8,000 to do the new door lock system for the health department, and then a line item transfer coming out of instructional supplies and into office supplies. So anyway, that's it. And this is money that we're going to spend anyway. This is money that we usually write a check back to the regional health department. In this case, they're allowing us to spend it on improvements to the building, $8,000 for the replace the door lock system.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, have a motion and a second. Any questions?
Question.
Comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Judicial commissioner needs 10,000 out of fund balance for overtime to cover the rest of the year.
Motion approved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions, concerns?
Yes, I have one. I don't mean to sound negative, but we have a full staff, correct?
We're down 2 part-time positions,
Okay,
sir.
so that's requiring you to pay overtime instead of using what's in your budget,
Actually,
correct?
what happened was our classification changed last May before the pay study from exempt to non-exempt because my people weren't getting paid overtime or comp time or holiday pay or nothing, and we were really short-staffed. So then came along the pay study, and we had never had an overtime line before, so it was a complete estimate of what we had originally, which was $15,000. But then came along the pay study, so people's salary got increased, so therefore the overtime rate got increased. So that cut into it, coupled with the fact that I have a commissioner out on FMLA. I've had a commissioner in and out of the hospital for the last 3 months since Thanksgiving, then came all the holidays with leave and everything else. All that building up depleted that overtime line. That's why I'm asking for some
Okay.
additional monies. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Salary positions.
No, they are now non-exempt hourly positions, sir.
Okay. Any other questions?
Right.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Juvenile services and probation, they're asking to transfer money out of drugs and medical supplies and into office supplies.
So, second.
Have a motion and a second to approve. Is there any questions, comments? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed?
The landfill is requesting money out of their fund balance for maintenance and repairs, other contracted services, and primarily diesel fuel.
Motion to approve.
Second. Okay, have a motion and a second to approve. Any comments, questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
The library is moving some little history here. As of 2 or 3 years ago, we started paying the library's payroll through the finance office. They have more money in payroll right now since they have been short positions. And this is basically, the money that's there is an appropriation that you have made to them. There's a maintenance of effort requirement, so you're going to give them this money whether they spend it on payroll or not. Okay? So the situation here being, they realize that they are not going to need this much money in salaries and wages, and they do need it for improvements that they're going to make over to the Watertown Library. So that's, and then they're putting $4,600 of it into other supplies. So basically, that's the long and the short of what we're doing here.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye. Anyone opposed? Okay.
PEG Channel is just requesting to transfer money from other supplies into maintenance and repair services to boost the signal from Lebanon.
So moved.
Second. Motion and second. Any questions? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed?
The next one, if you flip back a couple of pages, you're going to see a budget amendment that you approved back in January. We didn't vote, sorry. My bad.
Did we vote? Did we vote?
She said we didn't vote. I thought we voted.
You voted
Well,
aye.
okay.
Okay.
The minutes
sorry.
will say you voted aye.
Oh.
Go.
Okay, then, okay, that's fine.
Okay, I'm sorry. The next one, flip back a couple of pages, they had decreased principal on capital leases. Come to find out, they still have one payment left. So they are requested to put that money back into principal on capital leases and take it out of motor vehicles instead.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
WEMA is requesting $9,000 out of fund balance. This would to provide tuition assistance for EMTs to pursue becoming paramedics. We're still having trouble attracting paramedics.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve. Questions or comments? All in favor, say aye. Anyone opposed?
As they have been short-staffed, the next budget amendment, they're asking to move money out of the part-time line and into the overtime line, or to cover where they've been short.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve. Is there any questions or comments? All
Question.
in- Yeah.
Joey, how many, do you have a number of how many were down?
10.
10?
And they're all paramedic level. Then we're getting EMTs.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We're down to just paramedics. And
Do we have a, I guess, do we have a, how can I say this, is there a reason, do we, have we kind of figured out the reason still behind it?
now I'm just looking at different options of, way to get them in. I've even done a full internal, even have that external, ways track them. And been told different ways, you know, that you could go, whatever. So up until then is why we're trying to press as many already inside to go to permits. Sure. But again, that takes, you know, 7, 8, 9 months for them to go through.
And is that working out pretty good for the
It
in-house?
is,
for
it
the
is. We
EMTs?
have 3 getting out, 2 in May, 1 in August. Then we had 2 starting in August. And then that 9,000 will let us do a 3rd one that will get out next for the year following. So right now, we're just stuck on those 10, trying to identify ways of getting applications in for them.
I understand. Thank you.
But Joey, also I think it's for the number of people that were down, you got 6 people that are coming off pretty quick here, and then 16 coming off in May. They're
Yes.
gonna be done, so that way everybody understands.
Okay, yeah, the recruits that are in EMT school now will be graduating in May. So once they graduate, then they're road ready.
Gotcha.
And so those 16 will be dispersed out, which they are now, but they only work periodically when they're not in school. So that'll be full-time. We have 6 going through orientation right now that are EMT. And they finish up orientation this month, or this week. And then they'll do rides for about 15, 20 days, and then they'll be ready for the trucks.
I understand.
So, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, next.
Uh,
Oh, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Sorry.
So, what you've got next in there is a fee schedule for your fire codes. The paperwork behind that is the resolution to adopt the fire codes themselves. It having to do with money, I believe it has to come here. So, that is your fee schedule for your fire inspections.
You make sure I understand this for what I put in the packet. The first page is the permit and fee schedule that we're voting on.
Yes.
And then the adopting the fire codes came out of planning and zoning.
Yes.
They're already in the packet.
Yes, yes.
All right.
So do we need to vote on 2 different things here then?
Well, you can vote on that second one if you need to, but it's already come out of planning and zoning the other
So
before.
you just need to pay.
Yes.
We don't have to vote on this one?
You don't have to, if you want to.
Pay.
What you do, got one for the month.
Pay.
Yeah.
Motion we approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the
Pay.
fee schedule for fire marshal's office. Any questions or comments?
Well, yes, there's one more thing I forgot to mention, and I apologize. It was stated last night, and if I mess it up, Danielle will smack me, but those of you that were there last night, y'all can help me say this correctly. It was stated last night that these fees would be restricted to equipment and other necessary support services for the fire marshal program. That was what was stated. Did I say that correctly, everyone?
I think so. So it was
Yes.
supposed to be directed to 54,410, and it's probably gonna be just one as a revenue account. And the idea was that it would be directed to then turn around and fund the fire marshal's office. So whatever these fees bring in, go directly to then fund the office itself.
That's what's in the minutes. She's already done the minutes from last night.
Okay.
Okay. There's a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments?
I think the fees will be more than sufficient to take care of the employee and,
It'll cover both the employee and the stuff that goes in the office.
if they're enough, yes.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
You can vote on this other if you want to.
Okay, the next page behind that is a resolution adopting international building codes. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Questions? Yes, sir.
That it should be a combined building and fire codes. I just want to make sure that it's stated.
Yeah, it's got building code, residential code, fire code, and plumbing code.
Yeah.
Why do we vote on that?
You don't have to, I just wanted you to.
I don't wanna vote on that here.
Yeah. The fee schedule, the reason I attached it is the fee schedule was no good until you adopted building codes. That was the only reason I attached it.
But I don't think we need to pass code until and give the impression to the county commission
No,
that
it's
we
got
approve
done
it.
once, so we're good.
So we don't need to vote on it? Y'all don't want to vote on it?
What do you
I do
say?
not.
We don't wanna know, so I guess no.
No, it's not that I want to say no, but I don't want to give the
Take my
Well,
impression
it's
that we
just-
approve of it.
We'll just ask Mike, we don't have to vote on this.
You don't?
He said that
Well,
already.
then we won't vote on it.
All right,
Okay.
all right. What about Xerox?
Yes, these now are all, thanks to GASB 87, these are all considered issuances of debt, which all have to be approved by the county commission. So there's two copy machines. These are through that state or local government negotiated contract thing. So that's what the county clerk has put forward.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve lease agreements. Any questions?
Can I make a comment?
I was looking at you.
I'll make my normal comment.
I was
Hope they understand what they're getting. So I'm telling you, we're gonna have to deal with it. 5-year lease, somebody gonna come in.
Been there, done that. All in favor, say aye.
Yeah.
Anyone opposed?
The next page is a proposal from the Health Insurance Committee. We started looking at opening a new tier. There's something I need to say 3 times each. Retirees will not be affected. Retirees will not be affected. Retirees will not be affected. Nobody who is currently, I'm sure, nobody who is currently employed by the county will be affected. If you are under the old pre-1116 plan, your plan is staying exactly the same. If you are under the hired 1116 plan or after, your plan is staying exactly the same. This is a plan for new hires. It is much more similar to what you see if you take a look at surrounding counties and cities, in that you have a higher deductible plan and then you have a somewhat lower deductible plan that people can buy into. I have the information and should have brought it with me. I can go grab it real quick on, what other surrounding counties and cities, et cetera, are doing. But that is the way that we keep the program in place, that everybody wants to keep in place, is to adjust for new hires coming on, and hopefully this one will last us for quite some time. The problem with the 1116 plan, just so you know, most people in the 1116 plan, some of you have it better than this, some of you have it worse, but most people in the 1116 plan have a $600 deductible. In the pre-1116 plan, have a $600 deductible. In the post-1116 plan, you have a $1,000 deductible. You save nothing. You have an $1,800 family deductible versus a $2,500 family deductible. There's no room between the two. The out-of-pocket maximums are exactly the same. You could collapse everybody into the 1116 plan and you probably wouldn't save $50,000. They're too close together. So it was the will of the insurance committee to put this forward. They will have the option of a $3,000 individual deductible, $6,000 family deductible, or a $2,000 individual deductible, $4,000 family deductible if they choose to pay, depending on what they choose to pay.
Can I address that, Aaron?
Yes, please.
As chair of the insurance committee, it was necessary for us to say solid to go from the 1,000 to the 3,000. A lot of discussion, the insurance people we hear, and everybody was in agreement on that. And that was going to be tier 3, period. Since then, we've had additional discussions, and we're going to have an insurance meeting next week just to give this the nod. Okay, and basically, as the new hires come in, they come in either at 2,000 or 3,000, their choice, either 2,000 or 3,000. And we give it to NOD, the National Insurance Committee, and I hope you'll approve it based on the Insurance Committee's approval. That's what, it'll give them an option, what it basically will do. Is that correct, Aaron?
You did.
Okay.
And Jerry, what this will do is, if they approve this tonight, I can put this one in the package, subject to y'all's approval Tuesday night. and
That's
the other
correct,
will
because
go.
you and I talked.
Yeah.
Correct.
All right.
So we'll have tier 3A and B.
Also, this will add our insurance fund as well. It'll give us more money in our insurance fund, because all the time the insurance fund is depleting, and insurance goes up, medical expenses go up, so we have to adjust everything.
Question, real quick, how is our insurance fund?
Insurance fund right now is holding its own. You know, we've finished the last couple of years with about a $2 million surplus. Now, when you have $9 million in claims a year, that's okay, but your stop loss, I think our stop loss doesn't kick in until 12 or 13 million. So
For the county.
if we were to hit the place where we had a really bad year in claims, you don't have enough in fund balance to cover that. You'd have to come out of the general fund to hit, if you had to spend out enough to hit the stop loss. The aggregate stop loss, not the individual, of course.
Is that monthly premium down at the bottom?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Jeff? Good. I've got one.
Thank you.
Okay, which one's first?
First one's 07, and this is just a increase in budget price revenue for certain high costs. And moving into contract services. And of course, this is IDA, or special education students. Also, ask request for move from test supplies to academic supplies, and to record a budget for donation received. We'll be using that for math night. And this budget amendment does not require requesting additional money out of fund balance.
Motion approved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Next one is request to move funds from unassigned fund balance, transfer out of general purpose school fund to the educational capital projects fund. And this is for the budget to design fees, maintenance fees, new elementary school and double log cabin road.
So moved.
Second.
I like to see them pay for things up front.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you, sir.
Okay, have a motion. Is there a second?
Yeah,
Second.
sorry, some of it.
Now, can I ask you one question?
Go ahead.
We'd be able to take those plans, I couldn't hear it a little while ago, we'd be able to take those plans and utilize them on Central Pike as far as the building itself?
Hopefully. Of course, you're getting into elevation, but yes.
Yes, I understand you get the site work,
Yep.
but the building itself should, so there'll be a savings there when we get ready to build.
That is my intention.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other questions, concerns? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the next topic deals with AFT, and I brought the committee a little bit of information. I'd like to thank Aaron and Jeff both for helping me with this. If you want, I'm sorry.
I just want to know if I want to sign that or not, Mike. That's all I'm asking.
I'll give them some.
No,
There's two of them. You don't.
And then what do you need?
Aaron, you want?
Sure, yeah.
Well, it's your numbers.
Well, I just don't have them with me, but I can go grab them.
Okay, the first handout I'm giving you is just some information that Aaron supplied. I mean, it's stuff that we get every month, but I put it together in a way that I could understand it. And I'm not going to go through it all. Just looking at this is primarily looking at Fund 151 and 152 and what is currently coming out of those two funds. And the bottom line for each one, 151, the principal balance right now is 300 million. And the 152, the principal amount balance is 170 million. Also in 101, there's the fire trucks that we are paying on right now, and that balance is 669,000. Also, on those 2 pages, it shows interest and the total for principal and interest as well. On page 3, what it shows there is the same, pretty much the same thing, with the exception, instead of showing what each item is for, it's a time frame of debt service maturity dates for both 151 and 152, and with a total principal of 462,729 right now, and if you add interest to it, it comes up to 621 million. A couple of things that's been discussed already is multi-level courthouse and a new elementary school. At one time, the multi-level courthouse was talked about around $50 million. Then it went to a possible $60 million. And then the last thing I've heard was possibly between getting closer to $80 million. But at the time I worked on this and with Aaron, we only had the $600 million figure. And if both of those things come to pass, on page 4, it shows what those 2 things are going to cost us in the future. I've got a column for both principal and interest and total. On page 5, it's everything put together for principal only, and that shows what our debt is at this point in time. Just looking at principal with also, but I put in there the 2 possibles of the 60 million multi-level courthouse and the $40 million elementary school. Aaron asked me to make sure you understand that possible figure of $571 million there on the bottom of page 5 is that's principal only, and that's what our debt is. You don't consider the interest as part of your debt, even though we're going to be paying it unless we pay it off early for some odd reason. But on page 6, it does show includes principal and interest. So I wanted to give you that just to show you what debt service is obligated to at this point in time, and the 2 possibles. Aaron, have I said anything inappropriate or incorrect?
No, sir, all correct.
All right. The next thing I'm going to hand out is dealing with the AFT. And for some odd reason, we have mostly for some reason, compared ourselves with Williamson County in discussing this. And so I did a few things to compare. But I need to ask a question first, and what come out of the committee the other day concerning the AFT proposal. It was proposed that we double the AFT for both residential and commercial at this point in time. My question to y'all, to the committee, would you prefer us take those separately or all together? Both at the same time?
Separately.
Okay, separately. Well, on the first page deals with commercial fees only. And right now, our adequate facilities tax is the same amount as the building permit fee with a minimum of $1,000. Now, what come out of the committee the other night was the proposed was to double that. So you can see, I mean, for 0 to 10,000 feet goes from 45 cents to 90 cents. From 100,000 to 200,000 feet goes from 9 cents to 18 cents. Understand that these numbers are really for two different amounts. One amount is the fee, the building fee. But the AFT is the same as the building fee. So they would be paying this twice. Is that correct, Eric?
It is.
Okay. So if a person is building a 100,000 square foot building, his building fee is going to be around $9,000, and his AFT is going to be another $9,000. So just want to make sure you understand that. Something that the committee did not address the other night was the minimum. And personally, I feel like whatever, I mean, this would have to be changed here in this committee. But personally, if a fellow building a house is going to have to pay $5,000, then the minimum fee for commercial ought to be $5,000. I don't know where the $1,000 come from, but it ought to be the same. If that's my opinion. You want to?
No, $1,000 ain't the difference. That's antique.
So what come out of the committee is that the AFT for commercial would be doubled, and I would like to amend that motion to say that the minimum amount is equal to the current residential AFT. Whatever we agree on as the residential AFT would be the minimum for commercial AFT. Aaron, did I say that right?
Yeah, but I have a question, and it's really for a county attorney, and that is whether or not that would be considered a significant amendment of our private act, which simply says that the building permit for a commercial structure, or the adequate facilities tax for a commercial structure, will be the same as for the building permit fee. So if you throw a minimum in there, have you changed the fee structure enough that all of a sudden we're going under the County Powers Relief Act? That's what bothers me.
The minimum now is $1,000. You just change that, so the wording should change, just the amount.
Yeah, so if we're just changing an amount, we may be okay. I just want your opinion.
We can change the amount.
Yes.
Y'all thrown a lot of stuff out here in the last 5 minutes.
Yes,
I want to make sure that
More coming.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't, I mean, it would be a huge mistake for us to ever find ourselves under the County Powers Relief Act. So that's my main goal, is to be sure that never happens.
Okay. So what you're saying is, we can raise the adequate facilities tax on commercial buildings, but if we set a minimum, we've changed our,
Well, the way I look at it, yeah. Well, that's my question. We apparently, we set a minimum before. I sent those resolutions over earlier today, and I didn't know exactly where we were going this evening. I didn't bring them in here with me, those resolutions. I can grab them real quick.
no, I've got it.
I just didn't have it in front of me to know what it said, and I just want to be sure, again, I just want to be sure that obviously, we've talked about before, we can't change, like on residential, we can't change to a square footage price.
That's right.
Because that would be.
It's a flat fee.
Right, so, but if we've already got a minimum, then I guess there's no harm in increasing the minimum.
I don't think there is, but I share your concern too. You get me cold with that.
Yes.
Are you concerned about the way I worded it, or just the fact that we're increasing the minimum?
Just the fact that we're increasing the minimum.
Okay.
So we're talking about the language of how we're gonna say it. It's better off that we would probably just say, we're setting the fee at this versus saying there's gonna be a minimum. So it's how you word it.
Because that minimum's already in there.
But it's better off to set just the fee.
But I mean,
It says $1,000 minimum now, you
but
change it to 5,000.
currently, the minimum's already in there. Do we want to increase the minimum, or do we want to leave it alone?
Well, if you're gonna increase the other fees, and the theory is you can't increase the minimum without changing it, that doesn't follow logically. If you can change the higher fee, why can't you change the lower fee as long as you follow the same structure? Like Aaron said, don't go to square footage as opposed to a flat fee.
Right. Yeah, I didn't
Are
know.
we saying the same?
We are, and I was just, like I say, caught kind of flat-footed for a second. I couldn't remember for sure that we had a minimum in there on the AFT, on the commercial structure.
I
So,
don't think we had it when we started, but we added it somewhere.
okay, so we got it. So again, unless we need to stay in some kind of ratio, like if you're doubling the fee, should you double the minimum? Or is it okay to raise
There's
it above
nothing in
that?
the act that says anything about ratios or anything.
Okay, so we're good.
I think what Mr. Marlowe's getting at is he's concerned that we charge a resident building a home $5,000 right out of the gate.
Mhm.
But if they build a small enough building, we charge a commercial building $1,000. And I understand that completely.
Yes.
And I would be all in favor of raising it to whatever ATF lines up. But I'm sure we need to make sure Mike really digs in and makes sure that we can do that without altering our private act.
I ain't heard
And-
anything that lead me to believe we got to alter the private act.
Well, that's the
Yeah,
main concern.
Jerry said there's more coming, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Well, I made a motion to change that wording. Is there a second?
second,
All right, wait a second, what is the motion?
Yeah.
The motion that came out of the committee was
Planning
to
and zoning.
double,
Right,
period.
right.
Okay, double
For
the,
commercial and residential.
no,
yeah, but we're just dealing with commercial right now,
Okay, that's right.
okay?
All right.
So, but the committee did not address the minimum.
Okay.
And what I'm wanting to, because currently, well, I'll just read to you. Currently, the adequate facility tax is the same amount as the building permit fee with a minimum of $1,000. Okay, that is, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, what I'm wanting to change it to is the minimum amount equal to the current residential AFT.
And that is what?
Right now, it's 5,000. But in a few minutes, it may be more than that. Or it may not change at all.
All right, and make sure that my cornbread English, I understand this. The commercial active facilities tax proposal would be to double what the building permit fee is, with a minimum equal to whatever it's gonna stay on the, whatever it's gonna be established on the residential active facilities tax. Okay. I got you. I think.
Okay. Okay. So if I understand it correctly, and somebody, Aaron, you tell me if I'm wrong, so the building permit fee and the adequate facility tax both are gonna be doubled?
Yes, sir.
Okay, because they're tied together.
Correct.
Okay.
Wait a minute now.
Yeah, I thought we were doing.
Right now, it's equal, it is tied together. Adequate facilities tax is equal to the building permit fee.
But
The
that's
proposal is to double the adequate facilities tax over what the building permit fee is now. You want to double the building permit fee too?
I thought that's what come out of the community.
Right.
To double both sides of it.
Yes, sir.
So the AFT would still be double the building permit fee. just
You don't
the
have to
building.
say double, you just say it's gonna be, adequate facilities tax is gonna be X amount of dollars equal to the building.
That's what I was.
All this doubling stuff ain't happening.
You say the word
Set the fee.
Yeah, but it ain't.
No, you're right. It'll be the
It ain't double.
equivalent. No, you're right. It'll be the equivalent of the building permit fee. But the building permit fee will double.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you just raise the building permit fee, the private act already says it equals it
Exactly,
at the end of the day.
exactly.
So it really, I don't know if that comes through here or not, but raising the building permit on the commercial rec, whatever it is what the act facility tax is according to your private act. So if you raise it from 1,000 to 5,000, then therefore, that's what your AFT is gonna be, according to your private act.
Question?
Right, right, because I think what you're saying is, because the private act says.
I'm not saying anything, I'm trying to figure out what y'all saying.
Okay, well, so the private act says that the commercial AFT is equal to the building fee.
Mhm.
So if you don't have to touch the private act and amend the private act at all, you just change the building.
We're not going to amend the private act, we
Right.
can't.
I understand that, that's
Okay.
what I'm saying, is that, so what you're talking about is not necessarily changing AFT in this case, you're changing the building permit fees.
Right.
And that naturally, because of the private act and the way it's written, changes AFT, because AFT for commercial equals the building permit fees.
Right.
So what you're really doing is
Changing
you're
your
changing
building
the
permit
building
fee.
permit fees. Do you see? So that way you stay within the private act, nothing changes with the private act, you're changing your building permit fees. And because of, do you see what I'm
Shifts it.
saying?
Yeah, it shifts it.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because it's supposed to match per the private act. So you change your building permit fees, it automatically changes your AFT.
That's what I was trying to say a while ago, but I guess I said it backwards.
The only-
I apologize.
The only exception to that being the minimum is on the slight
Yes, sir.
deviation.
So the wording of this resolution for commercial will be to double the building permit fees with a minimum of the amount equal to the current residential AFT, or whatever the residential AFT is there.
I think, Mike, all you're doing with the resolution is raising the commercial building permit fee to $5,000.
Well, not 5,000, but whatever it is per square foot.
Yeah.
Doubling the price.
We're
per square foot.
confusing, I am with you now,
Yeah.
I'm a little concerned, we're
But-
confusing
but
two
the mo-
resolutions.
The
Yeah, we
first
are.
motion you made
Yeah,
was to raise the minimum, right,
Yeah.
Mr. Marlowe?
That's,
Yeah.
he wants to get the.
That's what I
1,000.
wanted to second. That's what I thought we was gonna act on first.
Yeah, that was my motion. My first motion was to raise the minimum to whatever residential AFT is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I second.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's approve that one
Yes,
first,
that's where I'm
and then
going.
we'll get back to the other.
All right, tell me that motion then. Motion is to what?
To raise the minimum to
Minimum?
$5,000.
Yes.
Well, minimum to be equal to the residential,
Y'all can't get it together tonight, you're gonna have a heck of a time on the floor.
Which
Yeah.
is today,
You are.
$5,000.
You're gonna have a heck of a time.
Raising the minimum to
That's right.
equal whatever the residential AFT is.
All right, is to raise the commercial AFT minimum
Yes.
This is commercial.
to to whatever the residential AFT minimum is.
Which is right now $5,000 today.
But you can't put a dollar amount on
Okay.
it, but you're gonna keep it equal. That way,
Exactly.
wherever it adjusts to in the future, it will adjust with it.
Got it.
So we're just talking about the minimum AFT commercial amount at this point in time, nothing else. Yeah,
Question. If this raises, if the minimum raises it up above what the building permit fee would be, wouldn't that conflict with the private act? I think that's what Aaron was originally getting at, and I think certainly if you double it tonight, or I don't think the board would do that, but if it did, then do we have a building permit fee of $10,000 or even $5,000 for a small commercial building?
Our building permit fee is based on square footage.
yeah.
So a small enough building might be well below $5,000.
Could very well
So
be.
you would be elevating the AFT above the building permit fee, which is in conflict with our private act.
Well, wouldn't the $5,000 minimum be the same as your building fee because it's a minimum? So you wouldn't be in conflict, you're still paying 5,000 AFT, 5,000 minimum in lieu of the broken down building fees.
But not as written.
Yeah. Well, the private act only says that AFT is equal to the commercial building fee, or building permit fee. That's what the private act says. So at that point, you could amend the building permit fees however you want to. It's just that commercial AFT would
Aaron,
equal
what do you think?
whatever those are.
I think you can basically change your building permit fees, and I think the private act follows that your commercial AFT will be equal to whatever your building permit fees are. That's what I think, and I'm very much in favor of the county attorney's opinion. What concerns me, however, is the minimum.
Okay.
I may be the only one in the room that has a concern with the minimum, but I'm concerned with the minimum.
You're just changing the numbers, what we're doing, and don't even.
But I understand what you're saying now.
No, I do too.
And I don't want to get in trouble.
I mean, if you want to amend the building permit fee, and you're going to have to go into square footage, I mean, are we just going to have a minimum square, I mean, that's how it's set up. You got to rewrite that. I mean, unless you're just going to put a base on it and be done with it.
I mean, the concept of doing this, let me make sure I understand why we want to do this, Ms. Marlowe, is because we don't want a resident of the county coming in wanting to build a home, and we're gonna tax them $5,000 for adequate facilities. But somebody can come in and build a small commercial building and maybe be as little as $1,000.
Well, what's the,
Correct?
so I know we're not talking about residential building fees at this point in time, but is a residential building fee less than $5,000?
Never.
No.
No, because you're at 5,000.
Huh? No building fee.
The building
Not-
fee.
not
Oh,
AFT.
building fee, I'm sorry,
It
yes, building fee,
It's
yes.
based on square
Is
footage.
it less than $5,000?
Yeah, they have a square, I think they compute that on square footage, if I remember correctly.
So we're already doing it with
That's not what the
residential.
private access, it addresses on commercial, not.
Right.
Okay, I have it.
Mhm.
Do you want me to read it to you?
Read it.
So this is the commercial building permit fee schedule. So for a building of 10,000 square feet or less, the building permit fee schedule should be 45 cents per square foot.
I've just
Yeah,
handed
we
that.
have
Right,
that.
They
okay.
have it.
Yeah.
That's what it is. So that's the building permit fee schedule. So what you're gonna have to do, because commercial AFT is equal to
That's not the
this.
question. That's not the question we're talking about.
We're
Okay.
talking about raising the minimum,
We're just talking about the minimum right now.
right this minute.
And if there's a
Well,
chance,
I didn't
if there's a chance that that minimum is not, if raising the minimum above what the adequate, or the permit fee is, if that would somehow jeopardize our, what we have at this point in time, I would prefer not to do it.
What it says in the building permit fees about AFT and the $1,000 minimum, it just says the adequate facilities tax for commercial, industrial, and institutional construction in Wilson County will be the same dollar amount as the permit fee with a minimum of $1,000.
Yeah, they have that.
Right, so that's,
Yes,
Residential building permit fee, 70 cents per square foot. So you build a 2,500 square foot house, that's $1,750 for a building permit. So if someone builds a 10,000 square foot commercial building, they're only paying $1,000.
Again, I think that's something to address in your building permit fee schedule, and I think it will follow here. I think.
okay.
Yeah, and we never have tied the two together in the same resolution. Building permit fees have always been a separate resolution. And then the adequate facilities tax, apparently somewhere, we based it on whatever the building permit fee is, because
Yes.
I heard a couple of people say the private act addresses that. And the only thing the private act says is the authority to levy a tax on new commercial and industrial developments authorized. And it takes a 2/3 vote of the legislative body to do it. We didn't set it.
I think it's in the one after that where we raised it to 3,000, where we did that. I
And
think
the
it was
one
when
I've
we-
got, the one you sent me says draft on it. That's what concerns me.
Okay,
But I think we've done it,
yeah,
but I don't think I've got the one that we adopted.
okay, yeah.
Now, I didn't look it up today. I relied on, and
Well,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, I should have looked
That's
it up.
fine, that's what I had, so,
Yeah.
what I have, is, you know, where I think the first time when we set AFT at $1,000, I don't think we set a commercial AFT at that time.
I don't believe we did
I
either.
think a commercial AFT was set when we raised it from 1,000 to 3,000, and at that point in time, I believe it became equal to the building permit.
I think that's right. And that's what I've got in the draft. I'm pretty sure we adopted that. All right, okay, I mean, we'll look at it between now and Monday night.
Okay, my question is to both of you guys, is raising the minimum, you feel like that would jeopardize what we currently have with the state?
Well, as I've thought about it, I've tried to think of an absurd example, because absurd examples are usually easy to sort of follow. So if somebody came in and built a $500 square foot commercial structure, you know, but they had a minimum of 1,000, they're gonna pay more in AFT than the building permit fee, right? Because the building permit fee currently says a minimum of 1,000. So I don't know that raising it to 5,000 is necessarily gonna be a problem, because what we're discussing that might be a problem may be happening, could theoretically be happening already.
Yeah, I'm not satisfied in my mind that we've got a problem.
Yes.
But I keep hearing it worded different ways, so you
Yes.
know, we need to settle on what we're gonna do, and then we'll take a look at it.
Can we just not make this contingent on you researching it and coming back with a recommendation?
Well,
I hate to lay it in your lap.
No,
but
it's
we're-
fine,
But we're listening to you.
I'm gonna certainly research it before next Monday night.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Okay,
And
so,
if you come back and feel that we are violating our private act, then we'll forget about it.
Yeah,
Well, I'm not saying that, I'm just saying if that
yeah,
was
I
to be
don't
that.
think I see it there, but that's
I
the
don't
way
see it
I'll
that
go
way.
into it, because I'm kinda like Aaron. You start looking for the ways it'll rear up and bite
Well,
you, and I wanna make sure we don't get bit.
so can we amend it to being contingent on what the county
Sure.
attorney finds?
but let me repeat the only motion on the floor at this point in time is that the commercial AFT minimum amount will be equal to the current residential AFT.
That's 5,000 right this minute.
All right, that's what I got.
$650.
Okay, and that's, I made the motion, Tommy seconded. Any further discussion from the committee here? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Well, let's go back to what came out of committee the other day, was that the adequate facilities tax, no, excuse me, let me back up. The commercial building permit fee schedule will be doubled. That's what come out of committee. On page A, I've given you what it currently is and what it is if it was doubled. Is there a motion to pursue that?
So moved.
Is there a second? Can I second it? Okay, I second it. And before I go any further with that, the one thing I want to do, and I've talked to a few other people here in the room, is that this is a small committee, and this is something that's big. And what I would really like to see, whether y'all 100% agree with everything that's going on or not, is I would like the full commission to have the opportunity to vote on this, not just kill it at this, right here at this junction. So, the motion at this point is to double the commercial building fee schedule, the current schedule. And there is a second. Any questions or comments?
So, I asked you the other night, you ain't got the numbers. It was less than $500,000 a year the commercial side was bringing in, correct?
I don't know that, Tommy, I don't remember that I was able to break out
Well, you came out
commercial.
with 400 and something,
Yeah.
Okay,
400, and I wish I'd wrote it down, but I did not.
okay, yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be much.
497.
Okay.
And just to, before you vote on it, if you wanna, the commercial, Williamson County calls it a privilege tax. And Williamson County has a flat fee of 34 cents per square foot, which makes and I've run you some comparisons on page C, and Williamson County's commercial, it's on the bottom there. Like if you built a 1,400 square foot commercial building, Wilson County's, if we do what we're talking about, the fee would be $25,000, $25,200. But in Williamson County, it would be $47,600. If it was a $440,000, 440 square foot building, which we have some of those in Wilson County, they'd pay $44,000. In Williamson County, they'd pay $149,000. Anyway, have a motion and a second to double the current building permit fee schedule for commercial buildings. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Noes?
No.
One no.
That's too much.
All right, let me stop right there and make sure that one is a pure building permit fee resolution. We're just changing the commercial building permit. In my opinion, that'll only take a majority vote. The one we did before that to raise the adequate facilities tax minimum, the private act says it can be adjusted up or down by a 2/3 vote of the county commission. So I think that'll take a 2/3 vote. The building permit will just take 13. Unless I see something different. But that's what I feel.
And the first one that we passed simply just said that the commercial AFT had to be 5 or better now to equal what our residential, that's what we're going. So if we change the AFT here in a few minutes, gotta change that one too.
Well, but still, you're changing the minimum AFT.
That's right.
So
That's what I'm looking at. If it's excess, it's an excess. Yeah.
Okay, on page B, is numbers that Aaron had given everyone before. All I did at the bottom was expand that from, based on a 4-year average, if we increase our residential AFT, what it could possibly bring in into increases. The first motion that we had, or the last motion that we had concerning the AFT, of raising the AFT, originally was $7,500. So according to Aaron, based on a 4-year average, that would have brought in an additional $6.4 million. And if we raised it another $5,000 to double it, it could have possibly brought in an additional $12.9 million. These are, in my opinion, these are conservative amounts simply because Aaron used a 4-year average. That would, I don't know what what it looks like right now. I understand that it has decreased to a certain degree. But it's still, you're looking at it at a 4-year average, which the first year was only $1,478 back in 2019. This is probably conservative numbers. The pages I gave you first show what our debt service is at this point in time, plus what it may be in the near future if we build the 2 buildings that we're already planning on building. This is just me personally. I mean, I don't know if the mayor will agree with me or not, but I don't feel like we need to increase our debt by over $100 million without also increasing the amount of money that could be coming in to Wilson County government. I know at this point in time, we can look at it and say we're in pretty good shape, but it's hard for me to want to increase our debt without bringing in some extra dollars. Now, what come out of committee, and what the resolution that we're looking at this point in time, even though Aaron didn't bring it with him, is that the AFT for residential would go from $5,000 to $10,000. The one thing I would, there's 2 things I'd like to see happen, and it's going to be up to y'all. One, I like whatever we agree to, I like it to go beyond us and go to the floor, if possible. But the other thing I don't want, and you said it the other day, whatever we agree upon in here, we would like to keep it from being altered once it gets to the floor. The motion that come, or the resolution, or whatever you call it, the
recommendation.
Yeah, that come out of committee is for it to go from 5,000 to 10,000 at this point in time. Yes, sir.
And I'll just make a little talking down speech here. So,
Sure. It's your committee that it come from.
If everybody look over in front of Tommy and see that crystal ball there, we look at it in the future, oh, I don't see one, do you? Well, we're kind of, in the estimation, I've been crunching numbers, we're kind of, as well as they kind of going brokish a little bit, we're kind of we need to keep our revenues up, and the thought is, we got two schools, sometimes we'll want to come out of the ground. There's a high school sitting out there waiting in the wing somewhere. Let's look out to 10 years to 2033, and we're probably gonna be repeating the same thing, and we're gonna need it probably. Two more schools, two more elementary, then there'll be a high school right over the hill. We're gonna have to pay for all this, and it's gonna cost money. If you look at your schedule there, Green Hills cost $104 million, we're paying $46 million of interest on it. We gotta pay it somehow or another, and all this money goes to school, goes to education, a big part of it. So we just think that the first thing we gotta do is just double it and see how we come out to make sure our revenue streams are getting close to, hopefully close to our expenditures. So we just don't, none of us have a crystal ball, but we don't get to 2033 and look back at, oh, we sure should have done that, shouldn't we? Now we're gonna have to lay a property tax on everybody sitting in this room. Everybody in that room is gonna have to kick in another third on their property tax to pay for the school and for the sheriff and for others. And we need to take action now.
What he was talking about schools and the cost, that's page F on this, that Mr. Luck will help give me the numbers for. I just put numbers together on the last three schools that were built, one of each type, Green Hill, Gladeville, Middle, and Springdale. And what it costs to bring them out of the ground, what it costs to maintain them annually, and what it costs for personnel and salaries and benefits annually. So that's page F. That's what he was talking about. I meant to bring that up a while ago. So, you know, I know there's folks out there that's got a lot of property and they want to sell it somewhere down the road to build a bunch of houses on. And this may or may not, increasing it may or may not affect that. It didn't affect it in Williamson County, and quite frankly, I don't think it will affect it here. But I don't have a crystal ball. So what come out of committee was the residential AFT would be raised from $5,000 to $10,000 is their motion. There's not a motion, even if I made the motion, there wouldn't be a second, so. Motion dies for the lack of, or.
Lack of a motion.
Yeah, no, lack of one. Okay. What I would like to do, I will make the motion and we'll go from here. I would like to make a motion that we, increase the AFT, residential AFT, to its original amount of $7,500. Is there a second on that one? Is there a second? Okay. That motion also dies for lack of a first, second, or third.
Second.
Okay. Is there any old business? Is there any new business?
And I'll make a comment, since you asked me, do I agree with you? And I would, I didn't really know for sure what was coming out either. Nobody said anything to me. about this, and that would have been, that would have been good, I could have been better prepared, but I will say this, just so you know, and the debt is a lot, and the insurance, and interest is a lot. But the revenues that we've gained over the past several years has been a lot too. When you look at the reappraisal of what property has gone up here, the debt numbers go up and you go, gosh, man, that's a lot. What's the same price of eggs and everything else? I mean, but your wages have gone up. Well, what we've tried to do here, and I'm not against whatever the commercial, probably way behind, probably hadn't addressed it in a while and probably should have been addressed a long time ago. Don't disagree with that. The AFT, as far as being here since 2010, we've tried to live within our means. You know, and you have. You've raised taxes 2 times in 15 years, and you're going to have to build some schools. You've built a bunch of schools since we've been here, guys. And you remodeled a bunch of schools too. So we've lived within our means. Now, do we want to put some money back? Yeah, we could have left it at 251 instead of dropping it to 190 if you wanted to, and we had to reappraise them. And that would have stored quite a bit back. But you guys said, hey, let's drop it to 190. So I'm not saying that I don't agree with you, but I think too, when I ask the question, why raise AFT? And a lot of times I get it, I'm saying, well, that's because these people moving in here, we need to put a tax on them. Well, the only problem with that is a lot of people that move in here will buy somebody else's house and they won't pay AFT. And then our own children that are out here right now, they're trying to build a new house, they're from here, we're taxing them. So it doesn't really, it's not a true mesh there. So I want to.
There's no such thing as a perfect tax.
That's exactly right. There's not. That's right. And I don't know that AFT is, when we say it in that form, hey, it's going to stop growth. Well, it didn't stop growth. And it's all not new people. You know, Lauren mentioned a long time ago, transfer tax. So there's, I mean, so I want to applaud you for looking at it. I also want you to know that, you know, we do our best to not put ourselves in a debt, and I can give you the debt comparison with the surrounding counties because theirs are a lot higher than ours. But we've always tried to, and, you know, and we'll continue to try to not have to raise property taxes we keep from it. There may be a day that we have to, and this may be something that we have to too. The Judicial Center started out only at 60. It never was 50.
Okay.
And the 60 went to 78 because they said on this one, as we do on these schools here, we don't do the FF&E separate. On the Judicial Center, it all needs to be included in one package for security and data, so the whole wax is in there. So I went back to him and said, hey, can we do 78 without a tax increase? And he said yes. So, you know, I mean, so I don't normally bring anything to you that's going to require a tax increase anyway normally. I mean, I try to stay away from that. But there may be a day that we have to. But I applaud your work. And I don't, you know, and I know that you said we're down 3.4 million in AFT right now. My concern, as I said to you earlier, I don't want to screw up what I'm counting on, because what I'm counting on is paying my debt payment. And if I do something that makes it go below that, then you will have to raise taxes on it because you have no other choice. So, but just because I didn't second it, I just want you to know I appreciate your work.
It did hurt my feelings, that's all right.
Mr. Chairman, can I, here's what the mayor just said. My concern is that our population is not going on a flat, elevated plane. It's going up a little bit more, not totally exponentially, but going up a little bit more exponentially. If we're going to have to provide more services as that population starts increasing faster and faster and faster, and that's the whole point here, is trying to keep them having to do the property tax. Ain't like some lady in Eastern County to pay for services that we're providing in Western County. Plenty of money, they ain't got all the money.
Oh, it's about the West again.
Yeah,
There you go.
There you go. But you understand what I'm saying.
I do.
We need
And
to
as that-
address it next year.
And you will agree that as that population has increased, and it has increased since 2010, you've taken those extra revenues and you spread them out because you've only taxed that old lady 2 times in 15 years. That's a pretty good deal. I mean, y'all have done a tremendous job
No
with
more
that.
tax her anymore if we can help it.
I'm with you.
Somewhere
I'm
else.
with you 100%. I mean, I was not excited about the commercial fees, but I think we're behind it.
It was.
So, yeah, it's behind. And the AFT, if you guys say, hey, we're gonna increase it, I told Aaron the other day, that's okay, we'll pay off some debt, or we'll do whatever. We don't have to have it right now, but we can pay some debt off. So, I mean, if you decide you wanna do it, we're gonna do what you tell us to do.
Me, I do have one question, and I don't know, Aaron, I guess you can answer this. If we did increase AFT, residential AFT, can we pigeonhole that in a different account? I don't wanna call it a savings account, but can we pigeonhole that so it can only be used for whatever we determine it needs to be used for?
Well, it's one of the questions that not quite the same way, but I did pose to the county attorney today, and I don't know if you had a chance to look at it or not, but the last resolution that we passed, actually, when we raised it to $3,000, the additional $2,000 was going for education. Okay, and then when we changed it from 3 to 5, it went to a 2/3, 1/3 split between.
On everything between the 3 and the 5.
Okay.
Wasn't it?
Actually, we did everything.
Because private access, 2/3 and a third. That's what's private access. We want that, no matter what the price of the AFT is, the private access, that's the way we split it. So, so it wasn't on the above, it was.
There's the answer to your question.
Yeah.
Private act hasn't changed.
That's right.
Yeah. So I think I think you can do what you want to do, but a slightly different way maybe than you're thinking. I think basically by resolution of the county commission, you could designate and maybe even require something, or can they require something greater than a majority by resolution?
No, I think you'd have to follow what's in the act. We don't want to take that.
Okay, so no.
You've already did that very early in this.
Yeah. So that was to try to set it aside somewhere and restrict it further than already the designation of where it goes. I don't think we can.
Well, there's some definitions in the act
that
have to be applied to whatever you spend the money on.
Yeah.
And it's public works property.
And I want to apologize I included most of the data that I was using to explain the need for an increase was mostly education and the multi-level building. But obviously it can go, there's other areas that these funds could go for.
Well, the main thing is
law enforcement and
the main thing is again, I don't want you to be confused when we're talking about AFT, and I know you're not. And by the way, this is you made a compelling case and very well put together. The case for it is very compelling, but the AFT can't be used for operations. We were talking just a minute ago about operations. AFT can only be used for capital purposes. So, it's not your answer out of how do we provide services. AFT is not your answer. If your answer is, how do we build some buildings, AFT is something you can talk about.
I think, Mr. Marlowe, too, the way it's structured here, if it goes into those two funds there, you're saying, well, can I save it for something else? But if it goes into those two funds and those two funds get hefty, I don't have to use these funds for anything. That frees up my other side of there, whatever you want to do. And at the end of the day, you're always in charge of whatever we spend anyway, whether you earmark it over here or earmark it over there, it's still gonna be your call.
Well, I just felt like that, and I'll hush after this, I just felt like that the people that's moving into our county, I don't feel like they pay enough for what they get.
Okay.
And that's the primary reason that, not just me, there's other people in this room that would agree with me. But I just wish we could get them to pay a little bit more than what they're paying currently. You had your hand up.
Yeah, I think this is a good question that we need to look at. Is how much more debt is the county capable of taking on before we gotta raise the tax on our property tax?
We just address that each time that the need comes up. And because every year we make payments and every year certain debt rolls off, which frees up capacity. So, as this school comes in, the judicial center, and I don't know what else, when we get to talking about long-range terms and we have a plan here, You won't need to build a jail for a long time, hopefully. Judicial center will be done. Window stations are really done. You may have one here or there that's small for cash. He's got the Gladeville school coming after the one in Double Log Cabin. But depending on how much FEMA money we get back, helps us get that one. And when we talk about long-term, but I mean, it won't, they may want it next year, but it takes a while for all that to happen. I mean, just like the ones you're gonna approve, if you approve it later on, it'll take 6 to 8 months to get everything ready to go, to put out the bid, and in 2 years to build it. So, I mean, it takes a little bit, but its capacity as the needs arise, is when we bring it to you and let you know.
The reason it's a difficult question to answer is how aggressive do you want to be? Do you want to bank on what we collected last year, 16 million in AFT? Well, we already know that's not happening this year. What do you want to bank on what interest rates are going to be? So for me to tell you at any point in time, well, we have exactly this much borrowing capacity, that number's good for about 5 seconds. So it has to be kind of a project by project.
We know until it's
Yeah.
time to do it.
Exactly. When we go to do a building and we look and we go, okay, we feel like it would be too aggressive to bank on this much AFT and this much property tax, then that's when we know we need revenue. And then it's a matter of, okay, how much revenue do we need?
Eric, can you you've given it to me, the copy of the different capital projects got out there, and when they roll off and how much more we owe and stuff. So everybody knows when.
I think I've pretty much given that to everybody.
We got it.
But if I didn't give you it's a debt schedule. If I didn't give you a debt schedule, let me know and I'll be happy to.
Isn't that what I just?
It is what you put together, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It just,
It took me a while to figure out all those pages that you gave me.
You did good.
yeah, this is great work. Great
You
work.
know, and it's like in here, the debt that we talked about building for the Green Hill School was 110 million, but we actually only borrowed 94, because of the cash that comes back. So those, you have to look at those. I've looked at those and then looked at the numbers and never figured out why they were different, but it's the amount of money we had to borrow.
Okay, if there's not any, do you have anything else?
No, sir.
Okay, our attorney has got things he needs to do. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
So moved. We're adjourned. Thank you very much.